Hey guys, my name is Kaustubh, and this is the first teaching session for Jetpack Compose camp. And today it's our first teaching session, and so it's yeah. So this is a presentation that we'll be following for the day, and just present. So the first thing we'll need for today is Android Studio, and I've told you guys in the last info session, I've told you guys to install it in your systems, and so after this, so for installation, there are two links. One is for you to see if your system is compatible with Android Studio or not, and the other is for you to install the Android Studio. And once you install Android Studio, if you've already done that, the second thing we'll be doing is setting up our emulator. So what an emulator is, it's a virtual device for you to test your apps on. So we can, once you make your app and you want to try how it looks on a device, there is also a physical way. You can connect your USB to your laptops and you can test your apps even that way. But this way, it has a lot of advantages. You can use different Android devices. It can be watches, it can be Android TVs, it can be phones, and we'll be setting up a simple smartphone for today's session. And so, yeah. So I'll just show you guys this brief overview. So in Android Studio, you can go to Device Manager and create a device. We'll be doing that soon. I'll just show you. 1 second. Yeah, let me open up Android Studio. Yeah. So here you can see I have device manager and I already have 3 emulators set up, but you can create device. And in the first step, you can choose which device do you want. So you can select category. There's TV, there's phone, there are watches, there are tablets, and automobile, whatever is your, yeah, so your car screen, I guess. Yeah, so we'll be just using a simple smartphone. We can use Pixel 4S, no worries. And we'll say next. And so basically, what this is, there are different versions of Android, and with this, there are different level of API for which different apps run on different SDK level. So it starts from 5 all the way up to 12 now, Android version. So I've downloaded this R1, but you can download anything for this session like Oreo, Pi. I've downloaded R, so I'll just do this, and yeah, you can give a name, just yeah, and just hit finish, and your device will be added. So this is what we created. It could take a little time for you because you didn't, if you haven't installed the Android SDK version. So yeah, but you can do that. But in the meanwhile, we'll be learning our Kotlin and Kotlin playground only. So you don't have to worry about setting up your emulator right now. You can do it side by side. And let's get back to the presentation. Uh, yeah. So uh, yeah, we were at this. Sorry. Yeah. So now we're gonna do Kotlin Basics, And Kotlin is one of those languages whose documentation is very concise. It's very easy to learn from, and you can follow along with the documentation. And for running and testing our Kotlin apps, we'll be using Kotlin Playground. And so I've given you a link for this. I will just switch to Kotlin Playground real quick. 1 second. So yeah, this is the Kotlin playground, and is a boilerplate code which they have given to you. You can just type in play.kotlinlang.org in your browsers, and you can follow along and try your code. There's a run button. Terminal will open up, and you can test your code out. So yeah, we'll just yeah. So let's start with our Kotlin basics. So the first thing is, if you don't know what all of this is written, we'll break it down. So what fun is a keyword while defining a function. And what function is, it's a set of code that can be reused again and again. It's a code written between a block. A block can be specified with these curly braces. So this one curly brace and this one curly brace. Whatever code is between these two braces belongs to this function, and this function can be called. So this is the main function in which we write our code. And but yeah, so in Kotlin, yeah, you can also define a variable outside the function. That's also possible. So in Kotlin, there are two types of variables. There is val and there is var. So I just yeah. So var var is a keyword to define your variables, and you can use any basically string to uh, show your variable. I'll just use x, which is equal to 1. Let's say 1 is an integer, and we are saying that x is a variable which has a value 1. Sorry. And similarly, we can use val. So now you must be thinking, what's the difference between the two? These both are variables. One is var, one is val. So var is, you can say, it's mutable. So what mutable is that it can be modified in the future. If you want to change this x variable, instead of 1 you want to make it 3 or 4 or whatever, you can do that, but not with val. So, and in Kotlin, to display your code, to display your output, you can use two functions. The one is println, the other is print. So I can just do println, and between the parentheses, that is these round brackets, I can say x. I run this code, it's see, after hello world, it should say x. It will print 1 because that's the value of x we have given. And now, to show you the difference between val and var, if I do this, now val is y now. So if we do this, if you want to change and we want to print y, let's try this. Yeah. So val cannot be reassigned. That's the difference. It will show you an error. But if I do with x, it is possible. And x would print 3. So these are the two type of variable that you can define. And so in most languages you would have seen, like in, so Kotlin is basically a modern form of Java. And in Java, you must have noticed while declaring a variable, you used to give what type of variable it is. Here we have given integers, but we haven't like explicitly said these are integers. But we can also do that. We can do, if I say variable z and I say it's a variable int and I make it 50. So this is a keyword int, capital I. It's case sensitive, and so what this does is I'm saying z is a variable which is of type int, and its value is 50. And Kotlin automatically detects, so you don't have to explicitly mention every time, but it's a good programming practice if you only want Z to be int. So it's better to define it previously. So another type that you should know is a string type. So what string is basically your group of characters combined in quotes. So can be as say string. I just say GG and I can print as yeah, so it prints GG. See, yeah, the other thing that we can also see is print. So what print ln and print does, what's the difference between those is after this print statement, after printing s, it will give you a new line. So if I do this print s and then I do print x, it will be in the same line. After GG, 3 was printed. But if I do ln, notice it's in different line. So after 3, if after x I print something, it will go in the next line. That's the difference between print and println. So yeah, that's the basic stuff in Kotlin. The other thing you need to know is conditional. Yeah, for conditions, there are few keywords. There is if, there is else. So like in Java, you can just use the keyword if, and in bracket you can give the condition you want to check. Let's say I want to compare something. If so, I say if 1 is greater than 0, so it's greater than sign, and between the brackets, I just say print ln this is true. I just do this. Yeah, this is true. So, one more thing in Kotlin that I can show you is how you comment things. So, commenting can help you with organizing your code and remembering stuff. So, these are set of lines which are not executed, but you can write to remember things like. It is if you want single line comments, you can use double division sign and just say this is x and sorry, printing x. I should say printing x. Yeah. So and for multi-line, let's say I just want to comment out from here to here. Like I don't want this to execute. I can just use slash star, and here also I can use. So this whole would be commented, and I'll just do print and then GG again. If I do print, only GG will be printed. Rest of this won't be executed. So so this is a multi-line comment. I'll just erase it because I don't need it anymore. So yeah, the other thing you need to know is while, do while, and for loop. So just look into that. Oh, sorry. One more thing. After if, so I said this statement. We wrote uh, println. Uh, this is true. So what if this statement wasn't true? This is obviously true, but if we wanted our code to do something, if this wasn't true, we can just simply use the else keyword and just println this is not true. Yeah, and if I just switch this, the else one should execute. This is not true. Yeah. Okay. Now what I'll do is, because There are a lot of things that I want to talk about, so we can just start over Kotlin's. Oh, I'll just show you 1 second. I'll show you Kotlin's documentation. Yeah. So this is we were at basic syntax. We started with basic syntax, and yeah, we should go to control flow. Yeah, we have discussed if else. Yes. Yeah. So we should discuss when. So if you have done Java, you would have seen switch statements. And what this basically does is we'll have a variable and we can compare different cases of that variable and act accordingly. Let's say you have a variable x and you want to see if x is equal to 1, then do this. If x is equal to 2, then do this. Else, if none of the cases match, then do this. So it's very clearly written. So basically, it's simple English. When x is equal to 1, do this. When x is equal to 2. So, and for making a case, you use dash and a arrow sign. This is one case. This is the other, and this is the third one. So yeah, this is when, and yeah, we should. Yeah, next I want to talk about is loops. And yeah, conditional loops. Yeah, for loops. So yeah, let's say you want to execute a set of code multiple times. Let's say you want to print hi 5 times. So one way of doing it is writing println 5 times. But yeah, obviously if you know the certain number of times you want to execute a code, a for loop is the most easiest way you can do this. You can say, so yeah, in Kotlin documentation, you can also run your code side by side. So basically, this is a embedded link of Kotlin Playground. So the ideally that we were using before, this is just a embedded link for that. And you must be wondering where is the main and everything. So if you just go to this plus sign, it will show you the whole code that is running. And this is basically just to show you the exact syntax you were looking for loop. If I just do this, this will show you the whole syntax. So yeah, so what this means is, let's break down this code. So for we are using the keyword for, and in brackets we are saying I in 1 to 3. So what this does is this two dots. It's creating a temporary list that includes 1 to 3, and 3 is included. So if it's saying if I, it's gonna iterate I. It will assign the value 1, then 2, then 3, and it will print I. So yeah, I'll just show you in the playground too. Yeah, yeah, 1 second. Yeah. So thus we discussed for loop. So it will give the value of I first 1, then 2, then 3. 3 will be included. The upper values included in for loops. So yeah. Then we can discuss while loops. Um, while loops can use keyword while. So sometimes, so while loop is generally used when you don't know till what time your code is supposed to run. Basically, the main difference is why there are separate for loops and while loops. Is while is generally used when you don't know how many times your code is supposed to run, and we'll just see how that can be implemented. There are jump statements, which means that uh, for a particular value of I, you can jump out of this for loop or you can break the for loop. Similarly, you can do that with while loop. So let's imagine you want to iterate the value of I from 1 to 10. But you want to say that when the value of I is 5, just end the for loop and just end the loop. So for that, you can use break, and we'll just see that example. Yeah, 1 second. While let's just say create variable var x in range 10 while to 0. Mm, yeah, sorry, 1 second. I'm show you the other example. I wanted to show you the follow example. Now for sorry. Let's just say, yeah, if I is equal to 2, to do is you break. Else, what you do is print I. What I was talking about, if you are in a for loop and for a particular case of I, you don't want this for loop to run. For that, you can just exit out of the for loop, or depends upon the situation. Or yeah, for this case, the question that I proposed was key you exit out of the for loop, but you can also skip by using continue instead of break. So yeah, the other thing I want to talk about is while loop. So while loop is generally used, I talked about when you don't know the number of times you wanna run the code. But you can also give conditions. So let's say while mm, I was creating this variable var. I'll just create a range um, and I'll say while range is not equal to 0, uh, print range. And what I'll do is I'll decrement range via 1 equal to range minus 1. So, and for obvious reasons, you can see I have used var. If I would have used val here, this wouldn't have worked because yeah, one reason that it cannot be reassigned. That's the thing. So I'll just use var, and this code will execute. Because of this condition, I changed range, and that's why we are using var, not val. So these are loops, and yeah, the continue, I could also show you continue here. If I'll say range is sorry, range is equal to 5, is equal to yeah. So the difference between single equal to and double equal to is, for single equal to, you're saying that this variable's value is this, but for double equal to, it's saying is it equal. We are comparing two values, we are comparing range and 5. So double equal to is used when you want to compare values. And there is also triple equal to. For those who have studied JavaScript, they would know triple equal to says key, it should belong to the same, it should point to the same memory address. That's the triple equal to. We are using double equal to right now, and for this I'll just use continue. And for this, it should print. Yeah, one second. Heap space exception. Yeah, 1 second. Sorry. Yeah. Oh. Sorry. Yeah. That part. I'll just see continue. I wasn't working, but yeah. So what we have discussed till now is when loops. Hmm. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to show you is, I'll just show you one more thing, is that you can also give, we have used if and when now, so you can also assign the result that you return from if and else to a variable. I'll just show you an example. What you can do is do this. Let's see, let's get a variable result, and we'll say if, what do we have? We have two variables, x. We just say if y is equal to 69, then the result should be gg, and else we can say y not 69. So we can just print ln result. So this is a very efficient way in Kotlin that you can apply. So since y was 2, this won't happen. And you can also do this result 2 is equal to when. You can also do this. I'll just say y, and let's say if the value is 69, I say the same statement, same thing we are doing. So when is like switch statement, so we are just kind of using multiple if else statements. So do, sorry, easy, and if it's 420, then I also say gg, um, and then else should be equal to y not. Okay, I'll just do this, and I'll print this, and print the result. Yeah. So since the value was y, I can change the value of y to, if let's just see different case. So yeah, both the case it's gg since I changed the y to 69. So this is also an efficient way for you to give your variables a return from if or when statements. So let's just do all this and discuss another thing, that are collections in Kotlin. So collections in Kotlin are, can be given by, let's say we can have an array. So what array is? Collection of values. So let's say you have a list of class, and there are 50 students in that class, and you can store their names inside of an array. So syntax for that is, I'll just use a val variable, and I'll just use array of, and I can say this is an array. So what this does is it has created a collection of strings. So inside of this ARR contains these four strings, and we can do multiple things with arrays. So most common functions I'll show you guys. So you can get the size of the array, so number of elements in that array. You can access a particular element. So in list, uh, this is the 0th index. So starting point is 0, and then it goes plus 1. So 0th index, then first index, then second, and third. So I can access the 0th element. Let's see these two functions. So yeah, what dot size did was to get us the number of elements inside of this array. And yeah, and this is a way for you to access the particular index. You can also use another function, so array dot get. This is a function, and you so what this needs is what index you want. Same thing. So if I give 0, it should return this. Yeah. So yeah, one more thing in arrays in Kotlin. So we did for loop. So we can use for loop to iterate through this array. I can say for I in array, just print I. So what in does is it will iterate I through each element of the array, and just to okay, sorry, printing I confirms. Yeah, so this will parent all the elements inside the array. There is also an inbuilt function for printing the elements, that is arr dot for each. And what this does is it will print, can print out println. So in Kotlin, what for each does is it stores the value, like we stored the value in I, it will store the value in a variable named it. So if I do this, it will give you the same output. This is an array. And if you want to change it, you want I, like we did last time, you need to do this. You'll have to mention that you have to use the I variable. You can use anything. I'm using I in this case. And so for each does is return the value of a particular index. What if you want to get index also? So you can do by uh, the syntax for each index. What this will do is return you the index as well as the value. So I can do this, and I'll print uh, the value is, yeah. So one more important concept in Kotlin, inside of a string, if you want to show a variable, what you can like add a variable inside of a string, you can use the dollar sign. So I'll just use dollar, and I'll give the variable name. So it's index. Sorry, in this case it's value, and the index is dollar index. And this, and it should say, yeah, the value is this, and the index is 0. So what it did was it replaced the dollar value with value, and dollar index with index with each iteration. So yeah. Mm, yeah, so one more data collection type in Kotlin is list. So list is different from arrays, don't get confused. And we'll see the syntax for the same. List of this few changes I make. is this, let's say this. So yeah, and you can also use the same function used before for each, and I'll just get the value. I'll just print it. And it should print. And sorry, yeah, list, not error. It's list now. Yeah. So this is a list. So same way you can iterate through the list. And one more thing, yeah, one more function that in list you can add, but if what if you want to add an element to this list? Let's say you want to add one or anything. So you can't do that simply right now. If I do this, it will throw me an error. If I want to add, it should, yeah. So add cannot be used right now. So what I have to do is change this. I have to make it a mutable list. Mutable, and then it's capital L of a. Sorry, yeah. So it's a string array. Let me just add a string. Uh, GG, and yeah, I didn't print anything. So let me show you the new updated list. Yeah. So it added GG, and yeah, so that's how you can add stuff to a list. You have to change the list of to mutable list of, and yeah. Now another data type in Kotlin we should discuss about is maps. So if you have done Python, you could relate to it as dictionary. It's basically key value pair. So it's map. Uh, let's say map of, yeah. So syntax for this is you give the key and you give the value, one to A, then the other would be, let's say, two to B, and quotes, and let's say three to C. So what I've done is I've given a key and a value, and so you can also use the for each function to print out this key value pair, and can do this. I'll just simply give key comma value, print it, key, and then the value. Yeah. Sorry, one second. Unexpected. Uh, I just missed. Just do. Yeah. Should. Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, there's an extra bracket there. So I just printed maps with each iteration key value pairs. So yeah, this was that. And again, if you want to add to a map, you have to change it to mutable maps. So I'll just add mutable maps of. So yeah, and you don't use add keyword. You use map dot put. So put function is used. Let me add 4 comma d. So and I'll just, if I do add this and print this again. You should see 4D. Yeah, so for 2D air was added to this. So yeah, I guess that sums up collections. Next thing we should discuss is functions. And yeah, so functions we have already used. We used a function main. So, but what if we want to use another function? We can do this. Syntax for that is you'll use the keyword fun and then the name of the function. So let's say get value function, create some random function. This is the name of the function, and in this parentheses, you will discuss. We basically add arguments in this, and in during function when you are making it, it's called parameters. So when you call the function and you give the value, that's arguments, and when you define it's parameters. So this function doesn't have any parameters. It's just gonna print stuff. It's gonna print GG, and I can call this function in my uh, yeah. If I call this function, it will print GG. What if you want to return something to this function? You don't want to print. You want some calculation to be done in this function, and you want to return something. You can also do that. You can get a return using return keyword, and I'll just say this is a function, and I'll just so if you call this function, nothing will happen. No output will be given. Oh, so yeah, yeah. So one more thing. So by default, this function would expect you are returning nothing. So there is this keyword in Python that, sorry, in Kotlin that is unit. So this will mean keep the function is returning nothing. But here we are returning a string. So we need to mention in the function header that we are returning a string. And this should run. Yeah, there is no output because we just returned a string. We'll have to print this value, and we should print this is a function. Yeah. One more, since it's like a we are just returning one thing. What we can also do is make it more easier and make it in one line. We can just simply give it a value. So functions can be treated like variables, and we can store function values inside of variables too. So we'll just this, and it should act the same way. This is more cleaner. And yeah, let's say we want to give a value to this, like uh, what if we say it's the function and the value passed is, and say its value, and but how do we get this value? We get this, we define it over here, get value of type string. You have to mention what type it is, and I'll just give this value. Can also do print because it's inside of just pass by this. Yeah. So what we did was in our functions we passed by a value, and there are different ways to pass your values, and there are named arguments, there are default arguments. We're gonna cover that. And there is also one more case where you don't know where the number of arguments you want to pass by. That's called var arg. Yeah, we'll discuss each of it. Just yeah. Yeah, one more thing I'll show you guys is we just did collections. So what if you want to make a function that takes a list and prints out each element? So what we can do is we can make a list for it function, and it will take a list. So we'll have to give the type, and we'll have, so this is the type of this L variable, and the string is mentioning that the list is filled with string values. And I'll just say we did for each function, and we'll just call that function and ln. We'll define a list val list is equal to list of, yeah, just make a list. Same list we can make this for list. Yeah, if we used, let me call this function list underscore it, and I'll pass by list. So yeah, so what we did was we passed by a list as a parameter inside a function, and we call that function uh, yeah, from main. uh, yeah, so let's discuss one more case or functions that, yeah. So remember when we did the first try time, it gave us an error. We didn't mention that we were returning a string, and it for default it takes it assumes that we do this if you're not mentioning anything. Let me underscore it. I just say ln. You don't have to mention it explicitly unless you return something. So I'll just gg. Yeah. So what unit means that we are not returning anything. It's basically nothing. Kind of like null, but it's different than null. It's just showing that there is no value, so no return value. So yeah. Hmm. Let's do this case. Let's assume that we are taking two variables. We are taking x and int, and we are taking a variable y, which is also an int, and we want to display what x is and what y is. So we can do x is equal to percentage x, and y is equal to percentage sorry, dollar sign y. So yeah, this is a simple function which will take two values. Let's say 1 comma 2, which should, sorry, yeah, I did, yeah, have to mention that I'm returning int, sorry, it's return, yeah. Oh, I didn't mention a type. I should say unit. It's not gonna return me anything. Yeah. So since we're not gonna return anything, we can say unit. If I wanted to return this string, I would have said string was the return time and return this string. So yeah, what I wanted to teach you in this was basically What if we didn't give this uh, arguments? This would throw you an error. So it needed x and y. So what we can do is, to prevent this error, we can give it a default value and give it inside of this, and we can call it now. So what this will do, if one of the values is not whatever default value we give, it will replace that if no value is given. uh, if we do this, what if the first value was given and the second value was not given? So it will give 42 to x, and it will give the default value, that is 420, to y. So that's how you use default arguments. And we can also do named arguments. So what we were doing is, when we passed by 1 comma 2, what it did was it passed 1 to x and 2 to y. What if the order doesn't have to matter? So I can do, what I can do is, y is equal to 2, and I can say x is equal to 1. I've passed by this completely reversed, but it has printed x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 2. We can mention that this is called named arguments, where you say that where order doesn't matter while giving the arguments. You just have to mention the argument name and what's the value. Uh, yeah, one more thing we should do is, yeah, is when you don't know when how many basically arguments you are giving, var args. I'll just show you. Let's create function var args, and let's just take two strings. String, var arg. So var arg is a keyword, and I'll say it is a string. Uh, yeah, and I'll say mm, dot for each, because we don't know how many variables we are going to pass after this. So you can treat it as a list. So we can also do this. For each function we can apply, and I can say dollar sign s arguments are dollar sign. So since we didn't mention our external variable, it will store via it. It's default, but I can also change it, but I'll just keep it. And yeah, so inside of main we have done this, no? This is a list. So before passing through this, we'll have to we can't directly add this list as a parameter. This will give you an error. Yeah, yeah. So if you try to, what's the function name? Var args. Var args. If I do, we can say okay, and I'll say uh, this is, we don't know how many strings you want to add, can add. So if I do till this, what this will do is, this iterated through var args. So this I variable is storing three values. This is an a, and we can iterate it, and we can access the value of I. So if, and now you must be wondering, why can't we just pass this? This will throw you an error. And to avoid this, you have to convert. Can basically give an asterisk once you once in. see. To pass in the argument, you have to convert this list to an array. Say this list to a string, but then I've used an Elvis. This was called an Elvis operator, but this you should have. I just see the error 1 second. Oh, sorry, I have to. Oh yeah, sorry. This is a list now. Oh, sorry. This is possible with arrays. Oh, sorry. You can't add a list to this, but you can add array to this. So let me create and just change this. So yeah, we just change this. RR. Yeah. So this should take an array as an argument. I can. I was showing you this won't work. Now you have to use this operator. Yeah. So this will convert to a string, and this will pass by to your function, and this should work. Yeah. Cool. So I guess this sums it up the functions bit. Uh, Functions are very powerful. We just use simple print statements, but you can recall functions with different arguments multiple times in your code. And I guess we'll start with object oriented programming. So there are a lot of concepts in object oriented programming, but we'll cover basics today. And since so Google has given us 4 units till now. I'll share you the tracks after this meeting, and after this session you can start your 4 units. And there are a lot of Kotlin topics that you don't have to study to like start. The main goal of this program is for you to learn Jetpack Compose, and we're gonna start that today for the basics bit. But for that, you don't have to learn Kotlin inside and out. We just cover a little bit of object-oriented programming, and then we'll start with Jetpack Compose and yeah, 2 3 topics. And yeah, so there is exception handling. There are different types of classes that you can create, but we'll just cover the basics bit, and then we'll start a little bit of XML files and then Jetpack Compose. Because I was thinking we should keep the session light. As I can see, it's already 8:30, so I was hoping we could for you guys till 9 or maximum 9:30, but it should be over before 9:30. Yeah. So yeah. So what objects are? I'll just clear all of this. Sorry, what classes are? Classes are basically collection of different variables and functions. So a class can be useful when you want to group certain functions. For example, you're a student at your campus, and you can have multiple functions. That is, going to college, study, sleep. You can have different values, your name, your roll number, your grade. So just to club it, we can give a structure to you. We give a certain number of variables to you, give you certain functions, and it's very useful to organize your code. So in Kotlin, it's very easy to give classes. Syntax is to use the keyword class and the class name. Let's say we give person, and so if you would have done Java, uh, you must have used constructors to pass in values. But in Kotlin, it's fairly easy. You can just give a variable here and just give it type, and you can give age, let's say given age, that would be int. Uh, yeah. So what we have done is we have created a class in which there are two variables that a class takes. A person has a name and an age. So I can just use yeah. And since we have discussed default arguments and functions, you can also give default values in your class. So let's say if when you are creating a class, so I'll just show you in main. So you have to create an instance of a class. So let's say there is class in our college AIML section A, but we but I want to access a particular child from kid from that class. I can access it via its name or age. So to like this class I've created as a person, but I have to add a name and a age for a particular case. You can call it a case or a person, anything. So we'll just create a variable called, let's say, case one, and I say it's class person, and it will have a name, let's say KHS, and its age is 19. So I can do this. So now what I've done is I've created an instance of a class. And this case one belongs to person. There's this person that is case one whose name would be KHS and his age would be 19. So I can access that also. I can do case one dot name, and I can do uh, case one dot age. Let's say. Um, yeah. Oh, so I have to. I'll just one of this. We don't need it. Yeah. So it will print KHS and 19. So what if you wanted to create a default case like I have not given you name or age? So you can simply add over here. You don't have to create a constructor especially for those cases or anything empty constructors, anything. Can do string called Tony whose age is 69 by default. So I can create another instance of class, let's say case 2, and I do person. Yeah, and I don't give anything, but still I want to access its name and age. This again, case 2, name and age. So it would print you Tony and 16. I haven't given any case, but it will still work. So like constructors, there are you can also give a constructor in classes, but there's also one block called init block. So what init block does is when you create an instance, when this line is executed, it will execute this block. No matter what happens, this block will be executed. So I can try it out. I can do println. This is it. So if I run this, see, I have created two cases, and this is gonna run every time I run an instance. This is the first thing. This will so you can have multiple init blocks too. You can have this is init two. Now, how does Kotlin decide which init block to use? It's simple. With whichever init block is written first. So it executed this one, then this block, and again for the Tony case, the empty case. So yeah. One more thing you can do is also you can also we added above, but we can also do add like default case via constructor. A constructor can be added like this. and I'll use this keyword to mention that if a value is not given, it's an empty constructor. I can do Peter, whose age is 20. So now it should print 19, yeah. So I've given a constructor explicitly that if it's empty, use this one. And yeah, uh, hmm, okay. One more thing we can discuss in classes is creating a let's create a different variable in the class. Um, hmm, let's say var nickname, and one more point I could discuss with you guys is Kotlin supports null safety. So sometimes if I let me show you in main. Let's say we have a variable called s. Yeah, let's say s, and it's of a type string. But we don't have a value yet, and we want to give it a value null. So what null is that at its nothing. In Kotlin, you can't do that. Yeah, it would be an error. You have to make a null string. How do you make a null string? Is just add a question mark after the data type. So what this would throw you an error, and if I wanted to print s, yeah, null. So this is null safety in Kotlin. You can check whether, yeah, you can also hmm, it's almost 40. Yeah. There are a lot of things I want to talk about. There is you can add set functions, get functions. To let's just do set functions, and yeah, set get functions, and after that we should move towards Android because it's gonna take a lot of time to, I guess, to finish this. Mm, yeah. So let's say we'll create a variable. It's called like underscore name, and we'll give it null right now, the starting, because it's not defined, and you want to set its value from the from let's say a user. So what we can do is set value, set function. Yeah, I'll just so what set function will do, it will take whatever value we want to set to this particular variable, and syntax is after this variable, just hit tab, and you have to give four spaces after this, and in the parentheses you'll give value, and this is a keyword field which will hold basically it holds a temporary value and will set the value in your class. So I can do the new value is so what field will do is set the given value for a particular instance of the class. So if I want to set a nickname for Peter, if I want to set a nickname for case one KHS, I can do that. And what I can do is also make a get function for this variable. On the similar um, 4 tab space, After variable, I can also, yeah, I'll just return a field. Yeah. So what I can do is for case one, I can set a like underscore name. Okay. And stuff to print case one dot. Yeah. So what was there was key we assigned this value a variable in a object, and we used set function and get function for this. We can also change this since uh, can also change the field if you want to. If I do this, let's say I change this to KHS again. This will return me KHS. I can change the field from get function to, so it printed KHS, not K. So yeah. So I wanted to discuss more with you guys. There were instant interfaces, or there is overriding functions, but I guess it would take a lot of time, and we won't be able to start uh, like the base of Android. So I'll just switch to Android Studio, and I hope you guys have installed it till now. And I want to discuss the how earlier we used to make apps. I'll just show you Android Studio 1 second. Yeah. So this is a so how I've created this. You can just create new project, and you can choose. I've chosen empty activity. So as you can see, there is empty compose activity and there's normal activity. We have to study this compose activity bit, but I want to discuss the how this is different from this. So um these are both what we're going to do is both written in Kotlin, but the major difference is in this line. So what we have done is set content view. We have loaded a XML file from layout folder. Layout folder would be in your res folder. This is Android Studio, and in this you can basically see this directory, and inside the res folder there will be a layout folder. And what this is saying is key when the app opens, just render this XML page in the main activity. This is the main activity class. And if I run this app on my emulator, once you have select, you can if you I've showed you how to set up an emulator, and you can select any emulator and run it. So this can take some time. Below it will build running. It takes some time to wrap, even if it's a short one. Android Studio takes time to build your app, so you should have some patience. So yeah, so yes, this is if I show you the code from here, you can basically split. You can see the code, you can see the design bit, or you can split it. Like you can see both the code bit and the design bit. So this is a structure of XML file, and in Compose, you don't do any of this. That's the reason I was focusing on Kotlin is the thing about Compose is that it completely eliminated this whole fuss of XML files, having a layout made by XML files. So as you can see, there is hello world text. This is a empty activity, and this is done by this code, text view. This is a text view simply added. I can, from the design tab, I can simply delete it. And this layout is very important for you guys to understand. This is the main reason, which is a little same in Compose and in XML files. So there are different types of layout. There is linear layout, horizontal. There is linear layout, vertical, of how your different attributes are going to be arranged on the page. There are containers. There is important is card view is important, and then scrollable horizontal also important. Like if you want your text to be in a box which can be scrolled down, and but these are little important. You can just drag and drop. And what this did was if you were to add any text or any buttons or anything, it will horizontally append those. If I just add a text over here, add a text over here, and add password over anything, it will keep adding stuff horizontally. And there's also vertical. So vertical would be key. If I had added these three, would be vertically arranged. So that's the thing about XML files. And I have drag and drop from the design tab, but you can see in the code bit, it has also added. It has added a linear layout with some attributes. It has added text for password. What I've added is password and text view, and I guess another plain text. So this all is not in Compose. I just wanted to show you, um, and you can see the difference. So yeah, and one more thing, yeah, you can also edit the attributes of a particular thing in Android Studio. Uh, you can, yeah, these are the common attributes. This is the text you want to show, and I think the important ones are padding, margins. What this basically means is the spaces that you give between the screen and your attributes. That's called padding. And we'll discuss each of this once we start Compose. But yeah, so I guess layout, yeah, what we should discuss now is Jetpack Compose. Uh, you don't have to worry about all of this because it's not in your track. Uh, I'll just share 1 second. Yeah, let me start off with this. Uh, this is sample code I've written for Jetpack Compose, and we should start with rows and columns. Yes, yeah. So let me 1 second. I'll just create a new project for you guys to see. Empty, yeah, empty compose activity. I'll just finish. Yeah, it's gonna load just on. Mm, yeah. So I've created this empty compose activity, and so these are basically the core things. We have created functions in Kotlin. So compose basically does is we create a lot of functions, and we just try to call those function in this get content function. This is a lambda function, and inside of this, yeah, we just try to we just call this is a greeting function. It's a default template by Android Studio, and we're just calling this function. And if we run this in an emulator, it should just print hello Android. Yeah, it's gonna run. Yeah, Android Studio takes a little time to compile. So, like we discussed in functions, we gave argument name of type string. We appended this text with this variable name by a dollar sign, and we gave a argument over here in the function. So this is the very basic uh, structure template that Android Studio gave us. We can also do our changes. We can do so, and this is for the preview bit. If we go to the design bit of this, you will see hello Android. Whatever functions we call in this one, the default preview, is going to be shown in the display section. And so if I do hello HS, I do it in the design, it's going to be previewed in this. And if you wanna, yeah, so this has to be on for since I don't have to render again. So preview is a help. So you don't have to render your project every time you want to see a change. And yeah, so mm, yeah, so there are a lot of keywords that you have to see. There is modifier. We're gonna discuss everything. We'll start right now, but I think we'll cover 2 3 topics only today. Rest I think we'll have to do in the next sessions. 1 second. So yeah, let's discuss some. Yeah, so it's not necessary for you to create composable functions that were there in the template. You can directly write your code in set content, and let's just add a simple thing. Let's just add a text which says hello, and I guess everything is commented. So if I run this, it will give me a screen with just hello text. Yeah. So, and what if I want to add another text? I'll just add hello world, the most used text in programming. I just stop this and just run it again. This is the hello Android from the previous chat because that's also open. So yeah. So as you can notice, I have called 2 text. One is hello, the other is world. The problem with this is that it overlapped because the default um attribute that is added in Android is from the top left. I haven't mentioned on the screen where this text has to be there, or how much distance there is between hello and world text. So that's where 2 layouts come in that are heavily used. That is rows and columns. So we'll discuss them one by one, and let's just remove these. And I'll first tell you what column is. So imagine you have like yeah these 3 texts, and you want to arrange them um, vertically. So you can use a column function for that. And so yeah, now yeah, there's a lot of code added here. That's why. So inside of column, if I just remove this, all this, it will simply give you three text that are arranged, yeah, that are arranged vertically inside of a column. It's simple English column, and rows that it would be vertically spaced. So, and to change your attributes, you give you can change a particular text. But what if you want to give attributes that are common to all three texts? So what you can do is create a column or create a row, however they are placed, and give attributes to that column. So the text that was there. So how we give attributes in Jetpack Compose is by modifier. So syntax for that is modifier is equal to modifier dot. Uh, so for to use function, you can just add by separated by dot. So dot background dot fill max size, and what these functions do is it's gonna control the background, and in background you want to change a particular color. So for that you can use color dot and dot. After that you can give different colors. I've just used yellow. And what dot fill max does is it's gonna fill the column to full width and height. So you have to understand that in your Android screen, there are limited. There's a limited space. So there's also a unit DP which we'll learn again. Um, you can set a particular size, but in this case we have just set the particular size. Just fill the phone to the maximum size it has, and there are and you can arrange the column can have an alignment and an arrangement. So to understand, when you see a column, the text is going to be arranged horizontally, and now how that text is going to be aligned with each line. So this hello can be in the top left, it can be top center, it can be top right. That we do via horizontal alignment. And vertical arrangement is the distance which will have between hello and world. So I had added that evenly spaced, but you can have multiple alignments. See, if I just change it, there is space between, there is center, there is top, bottom. You can experiment that on your own. There are multiple PNCs, permutation combination you can apply. And if I just stop this and run this block, what I've done is I have added a column, and inside a column I've given a column set of attributes, and those attributes are to set a background color, to fill that column to maximum size the phone can have, and whatever is in that column, it should have a alignment that is center horizontally. That means that this hello should be um, in this line it should be in the center. And what this arrangement has done, that it has evenly spaced all um, the text or buttons that it has inside the column. And I've added three text in this column. I can add another one, and uh, let's just add three. Let's just run it again. So evenly spaced does is it's gonna divide this screen. Yeah, this. evenly spaced. This space is equal to this space, equal to this space, equal to this and this. So these are columns, and I can discuss the rows for the same. If you understood columns, then it won't take you long to see rows. Yeah. So I haven't. So yeah, there are a lot of So modifier is not a small topic. You can. There are like 18 modifiers. Like I've said, background, height, everything. Uh, there are tons of modifiers, and I'll send you the documentation for the same on the group. But yeah, we used fill max size. Here, what I've used is fill max width. So you need to understand there would be a width, there would be a width and there would be a height. So what I've told is whatever row we are using, just fill that width and I'll give you a particular height. We have used dot height and I've given a particular dp. dp is, you can say, a unit for basically space in screen. And so again, so you need to understand a column will have horizontal alignment, but a row will have a horizontal arrangement. Since this two text like hello world are in a row, they are horizontally spaced. So that's an arrangement. An alignment would be how they are horizontally placed. They are in center or they're in bottom or where they are present. So these are rows and columns. You can have added text, but you can add like images, or you can add a lot of things that you can do with those. So rows is done. Modifiers, yeah, yeah, yeah. So like I told you, there are a lot of modifiers, and I've discussed a few in these. Yeah. So modifier can be termed as an attribute for a particular thing. We can give that attributes to a column. We can also give it to a particular text. This was a simple hello world text, right? But we can also add properties to that text using modifier. So, and this would be new to you. So what this is, spacer is basically an empty space uh, that can be used. So just to, you can give a height to it, a width to it. You can basically, yeah. So a lot of things would be added in this, and as if you can break it down, there is a column. Then there are three text, and between those text there is a spacer. There is no so in this we used an arrangement that was evenly spaced. The space between hello world and click this is given by spacer. I can also change this to 100 dpi to show it to you guys. What I've done is I've created a empty space between those. I haven't told sorry, I haven't told how they should be arranged. What I've given is that there is a empty block of height 100 dp between between these texts. If you could have noticed, there is a horizontal only alignment is given. This hello needs to be in center of this line. It is not given the distance between hello and world. That I gave by a spacer. So another thing we discussed background, yeah, required widths and widths. So what width does is your phone will have a limited width. I can't just say 10,000. What it will do is, even if I give 10,000, it won't give you an error or anything. It will basically have the maximum width the phone can have. If I give 1 lakh dp, obviously a phone won't have 1 lakh dp, but it will reach the uh, it will basically use the maximum your phone can have. But required width does is it will give you the exact width you want. And to show you, I'll just I gave 5,000 and I'll run this app again. Yeah, I have to remove this too because I'll just explain what happened. Yeah, so text is gone. Why? Because it used the width as 5,000 dp, and our text is um, somewhere far away. It's not on the screen, but can be. Yeah. So since there was, I mentioned the text to be aligned center horizontally. That's why it was showing. But right now, what happened was we set the width to 5,000 dp, and it's gonna show us 5,000 dp. It's gonna use, sorry, 5,000 dp. That's why text is not showing. I'll just change that to 500, and should be, yeah. Now what happened? We didn't give the alignment. That's why the text is the top left. Oh, sorry, towards left. Yeah. So there are a lot of attributes that you can give to a text too. Like we gave modifier to a column that would be common to every text. We can also give a attribute to a specific text too. Text can have offset. What offset basically means is to have a distance from the top left and a height. I'll just give 10 dp and you'll see the difference. Yeah. So what 10 dp did was move it 10 dp towards left, and what 20 dp does is move 20 dp below where it should be. Then this text has padding. So what padding does is the distance between if let's say hello, the distance above this text can be given as padding if you want to leave certain distance. And then there is border. Border had two attributes: how thick the border should be and what color do you want to give the border. There are you can give obviously more attributes, but I've just used two right now. And this was an example to show you what modifiers are. And yeah, one more thing we can do, and I can show you guys. I think this should be the last topic for the day because it's been a long time, is how can you style your text. I'll just And obviously, if you're wondering why the above code is not showing like we discussed the previous codes, is because I am just commenting everything out. That's why multi-line commenting, like we discussed. Kotlin, it's Kotlin.kt file. Kotlin files are, sorry. So such basic thing. Kotlin files are saved in .kt. I haven't told you guys that. Sorry. Yeah. So like we made a column, there's also a thing called a box, and inside a box you can obviously add text whatever you want. uh, so yeah, the text that we used above was very simple, but you can add different you can do multiple things to your text. And this so you need to understand what all these attributes are is going to be common to everything that is present over inside of this packet. And the text that is just one text, we are editing it. That's hello daddy. And so when you want to have changes in styling in one line, and there's this one line, the string is hello daddy, and you want some attributes to be different about hello and some attributes to be different about daddy. So what you can do is use build annotated strings. And what this does is it's gonna take a style, and you can add like font size to it. And with this block, this with style block, you can add the attributes you want in the text, and what text you want the style to be reflect upon. You use the append key, you use the append word, just append and the text. So all of this style is going to be reflected towards hello, and all of this style is going to be reflected for daddy. And all of this I had set common. So the text alignment and the text decoration is going to be same for both of these, because I have mentioned those outside this build annotation string. So this is about styling. And so there are two concepts left that I had to tell you. Then Jetpack Compose would have been a, yeah. Then two things were state and buttons. Buttons, though, I can show you. It's like fairly simple. Uh, so button syntax is but state was important. So basically, what all we have done today is very static. We have hard coded there should be a button over there, there should be a text over there. But what if, like, yeah, we click this button and some text opens up? For that, we had to study state. And yeah, what state basically helps us in making the app dynamic. uh, so that we'll discuss in the next session. Let's just do this button, and then uh, we can wrap up. There was also I want to discuss how Android apps were published on Play Store. It's a 10-minute. I can explain that in 10 minutes, but we should do it next time because we're gonna have a lot of heavy stuff to discuss, and it would be very light to discuss how Android apps are published in the next session. So yeah, to end the session on light note, next time we can discuss that. So for this session, yeah, what all we did above was we didn't make any functions. Functions are choice. You can having functions. The benefit is I can call it multiple times, and you can basically make changes over here and it can be easily reflected on the main page. So for this button, I've created a function called simple button, and you have given two things. So what's important is to use the button keyword, and on click we are gonna return a function. So what happens after you click on this button will go over here. And the other thing is a text that has to be displayed on the button is given by this. And to call this function, this block that we have wrote outside our basically this main class, is by simply calling this function inside our main class. So we'll just call this simple button. Uh, yeah, there are no arguments given. So yeah, this was supposed to be important because discuss how you can. So with modifiers, you can make these are buttons, but you can also make text clickable. So what we could have done is make a or anything make a box clickable. So I have done that. So it would have been make a box clickable, and once you click it, you can do some function. So that we can discuss next time. So yeah, there are a lot of topics that are left. I tried to be ambitious and I wanted to discuss a lot more. I wanted to discuss fonts, but yeah, we can discuss that in the next session. I'll discuss the so what we're gonna cover in the next session on the group itself. So if you want to prepare for yourself. And one more thing, if you are gonna try, I'll send these codes and whatever I've coded in Kotlin, I'll share it with you. So if you are having some errors, like I have used DP and everything, so you have to import a lot of things to, if you are having error, you can simply go over the error, and their Android Studio will itself tell you that this isn't working because you haven't imported this library. So if you're coding on Android Studio and you're facing an error uh, because of libraries you have not imported, you can just hover over the error, and it can either press Alt Enter, or it will show you key you haven't installed this particular library to use this. So I guess we can pick up state, which makes your app dynamic, from next session. Be from that would be on 16th of September, and till 16th of September, what you can do is throughout the week is, if you wanna do the tracks, is to clear your concepts in Kotlin, basic concepts, the loops, and not even like if you have like clear, if you're clear till functions, that's also enough. Classes though, because like I have used this. So what this means that we couldn't discuss is that it is inheriting from this class. But obviously, if you have not studied object oriented programming, you won't know inheritance. That's why I wanted to cover Kotlin before starting Jetpack Compose. But this is all code that yeah, which you'll get once you start a template. So you don't have to worry about writing this, uh, all of majority of things. So yeah, I guess so. To end the session, we'll meet you guys on 16th, most of the same time, 7:30. Um, and if you guys have any doubts, yeah, it's kind of late. If I'll just check the chat because I have not seen the chat. I was just on my Android Studio. I'll just see if there are any doubts. I'll cover that in the next session. So I guess that's all from my side. I'll see you on 16th, 7:30 p.m. So goodbye. Thank you.